Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Sight Lap as we look ahead to this weekend's Supercross in St. Louis. I'm your host, David Pingree, joined by Bruce Murata, as always, and our special guest tonight, Tom Parsons, FMX icon. This guy's a 3 times X Game gold medalist, 2-time Monster Cup best whip champ. Pretty badass dude. And he used to race some Supercross too, right, Tom?
Yeah, I was out there. I don't know if you call it racing, but yeah, no, I had a good time. I was a mid pack guy. Obviously, I found my niche after that, but yeah, still a good time. I enjoyed all of it.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming on and taking the time to do this. And it's cool to get other people's perspectives on what's going on. I know you follow the series closely and the sport, so you're tuned into what's going on. I want to thank our sponsors quickly here as we get started. Rock and Turf, check them out at Rock and Turf on Instagram, and those guys make some really cool artificial grass, hardscape out here if you live in the Southwest. And they can ship these really cool artificial turf mats for use in your trailer, your house, wherever you want. Really cool stuff. Maxxis.com. If you guys need light truck tires, they've got a complete line to dial you in. Maxxis.com. And then speedstrap.com. These guys make really cool tie downs and toe straps and new products coming. So stay tuned for that. We're stoked to have them on board. As we look ahead to the weekend, we're going to be at the Dome at America's Center in St. Louis. And this is a huge venue that typically has good dirt, though this has been a muddy season, so who knows? It's a dome, it's closed roof, but that didn't help us at Indy. But typically good dirt, good track, big stadium floor, which leads to great racing at this venue always, even going back to, I think back to even '01, Ernesto Fonseca and Kelly Smith. This was the closest Kelly Smith ever came to almost winning a race. The last lap, couple turns to go, Ernie took him out and won the race. MC and Fro battled here. This is where Fro stopped his win streak in '96, I think. And then in '97, that's where Jeremy got a flat tire on a Suzuki. This is where RV had his big crash when he was battling Dungey. So it seems like big things happen at this event over the years. It's just a spot where we get big shakeups. And this weekend, we've got a Triple Crown, which is, kind of creates its own chaos with all of those starts. So who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be nice weather though, 75 degrees, partly sunny. So if you're outside or on your way into the stadium, no worries. It's going to be nice. Boys, let's start with the Speed Straps 250 preview. This has become a Levi Kitchen, RJ Hampshire battle. Tom, what do you think of these two going at it? Kind of what's been your opinion watching these two?
It's been good, man. I honestly, Kitchen, yeah, I gotta hand it to him. Like leaving Star Yamaha to go over to a new team. I mean, that's a ballsy move, and it's paid off though. I mean, this is the best he's ever. I mean, most consistent, best I think he's ever looked on a bike. He went from a guy that won some races to like, I mean, a full championship contender. And I'm an RJ guy. I'm a Florida guy. Grew up with him. I've known him since he was a little kid on 50s. So, I always root for RJ, and he's a hard charger. He never gives up. So you got to appreciate that a bit. So it's a tough one, man. RJ's got to do it. He's really got to get in there and give Kitchen a little bit of the business if he wants to keep that title.
Yeah, his move to Pro Circuit, and I'm not obviously Pro Circuit's a fantastic team, but Star has really kind of been the team to be on the last several years. And when he said he was leaving, man, it was an eyebrow raiser for me. I was like, what in the world is that about? Bruce, what are your thoughts here between these two? I know you're an RJ, you and RJ are buddies, so you probably have a little bias here, but as this
Yeah.
series winds down, just looking at it objectively, what are you seeing?
Well, first off, the one thing I want to point out is I'm still very confused of how this is a West Coast round. Have to throw that out there.
St. Louis is the
Is-
gateway to the West, Bruce, and that's all you need to know. Don't question it.
but it's been an East round in the past. But anyways, Hampshire won this in 22, this Triple Crown. And yeah, you're right. He is my guy. I am a little biased on that, but with the talks that I've had with RJ, he feels really good coming into this round, and he knows. I mean, with him being 8 points down, it's time's ticking here. He can't afford to lose any more points. he's coming here this weekend to, as he is to every single race to win, but I really do feel like RJ is going to make it happen this weekend. Levi Kitchen, obviously he's been riding great this year. He's been riding amazing and he's been very consistent, but I just feel like RJ is going to definitely get it done this weekend.
And then are you two getting a room after the race, or?
We absolutely are, Payne. So yeah. Same with Tom P. You're right there with me, Tom P.
Yeah.
Good old Rick. We got Rick for the first place there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at some other guys. Just quickly talk about who could shake things up this weekend, because Triple Crowns, like I said, there's 100 different ways you could get knocked down in those first turns, or get a bad start and really screw up the way the overall works out. Joe Shimoda finally, I feel like, getting his feet under him at Supercross. He's looked better and better. Jordan Smith no longer has really a lot of title hopes, but man, he wants to. If you can't win the title, the next best thing is getting race wins, and he's certainly capable of it. Now with no pressure, I would say he's back to being, he's kind of taken over James' role as the cow, as a nickname. Crash or win, right? Ricky was the goat, James was the cow.
And I have someone that might kind of change things up here. Michael Mosiman.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Thrasher too. Thrasher could win on any given weekend. Mosiman looked great. He was
his first race back too.
Fastest qualifier, right? Last week.
Yeah, fastest qualifier, and it was his first race back in however many months they said. But I feel that he rode really good, and he might be able to surprise some people this weekend.
And I even think Julian Beaumer, he's kid's fast. I think he just is learning kind of the ruts and the mud and that kind of stuff, which is a very niche thing in Supercross because you don't practice that a lot. But when we've had hard packed tracks, he's been good. If the dirt's good this weekend, I wouldn't count him out. If he gets a start, he could be on the box, no problem. So there are some guys that can get in and get between these two and kind of swing the points either way. But I think, if you're Levi, you keep doing what you're doing because whatever the hell you're doing is working. And if you're RJ, just stay in this hunt. Don't drop a bunch of points, because when they go to these East-West shootouts or showdowns that they're calling them, Nashville and Vegas, you can see huge point separations. You throw in those East guys now, and all of a sudden, if RJ could pull off a win, Levi could be 5th or 6th. Realistically.
This third's turn into 6th, 7th easily.
So I think he's just got to stay in it, but it's going to be a fun weekend to watch. I'm not even gonna ask you who you guys are rooting for, because I know.
Who is it? Who do you think we're going for?
Well, I would just say, your boyfriend at this point.
Okay.
Do I even need to say the word?
There's some sneaky ones though. Like I don't know why, but I have a weird feeling that Joe he's got to have something coming. I don't know. He was really fast last week, and what did he come from? He ended up 3rd, right?
Yeah, he came. Yeah, and
from way back.
He had that crash. I want to say he was down in 8th, maybe around that area. But yeah, he was picking guys off quick. He was working through the pack quick. And Tom, that's actually in Ping. That's for my pick. I'm going with surprisingly, I'm going to go with RJ Hampshire for 1st, and then Shimoda 2nd, and Levi Kitchen 3rd. I'm feeling Joe's going to do something this weekend.
It seems like it, right? He's got it, and it just hasn't quite been there yet. But then, man, you never know. You throw those other, Smith is another good one. Smith's gonna go for broke at this point. He goes for broke every race. It's kind of his way he rides. It's that MTF hold it wide open or die kind of thing. But he's still there though. I don't want to count him out. You don't want to. All it takes, he goes out and wins this weekend, and then you go into the East-West, and he has some momentum. Who knows? RJ and Kitchen could have a bad evening, and all of a sudden he's back in there, 10, 12 points behind.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Tom, for sure. That there's still a lot of racing left with a lot of variables. So that's a good point. All right, I'm going Mosiman. I don't know who I'm going. I'm not picking him.
Come on, King. You're getting me excited there.
Moseman, Thrasher, and I don't know. I was trying to pick a privateer. I can't even think of one. I'm going with that French guy, but what was that?
Anthony
Bourdon.
Bourdon.
He's gonna
Oh
get you
yeah,
done.
he's been crushing it.
All right, let's move along to our Rock and Turf 450 preview. There's a lot to break down in this 450 class, and the title looks like it's shaping up to be a Jet Cooper kind of finale. I think you got to hand it to Cooper Webb for hanging in there against a guy that's as good as Jet is. But really, if Jet could have just avoided some of the mistakes he's made, he'd have a massive lead right now. He's thrown away 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah.
That should have been his, but such is the life of a rookie, and a hell of a lot easier said than done. Tell me a little bit about your guys' thoughts on this title fight, where Sexton fits into it. Does he still have a chance? Does anyone else have a chance, or is it kind of a 2.5-man battle at this point? Tom, what's your thoughts?
Man. Yeah, also, man, it's tough, right? Yeah, like you said, Jets had some mistakes. I don't think there's people kind of make it out to be a bigger deal than it is, like everybody makes mistakes. Like I know he's a rookie and stuff, but I think also part of it is like the way he rides, his style, like he's so perfect and smooth and technique, everything. It doesn't even look like he's trying. So I feel like when he does make a mistake, it's like they make a bigger deal out of it than normal. Where a lot of guys are making mistakes, especially the tracks this year too.
Yeah,
Like they're not super friendly tracks. But yeah, I mean, Jet obviously he set the tone. He's the fastest guy. I don't think Coop quite has the speed he does, but what he lacks in the speed, he definitely has in the heart, and he's certainly not going to give up. And I'd like to see him, get in there and bring the old Coop and rattle Jet a little bit. He's got to get in there and kind of do his old little ways to him and get him rattled up, and maybe that's his way to the title.
blast him with some finger guns on the way to the line and probably do it.
Something. He's got to do something because
yeah.
You brought up a really good point, Tom, is that he's made some mistakes, but like we should almost call this the Super Motocross World Championship, because there's only been like, I want to say 2 or 3 rounds that weren't really rutted or muddy. So it's been a weird season. I mean, just track wise that way. And so you're going to have mistakes, man. Like it's actually point to somebody that hasn't made some. Last weekend Sexton stalling the bike, and we've had guys going off the track and falling over, and bikes blowing up at San Francisco. Like it's just been a weird year because of the weather. So definitely a good point. And then something I want to mention is like when we start a season, any season, you always have like a group of guys, right? Could be 5, could be 8, 9, 10, who all think they can win, and Anaheim won. They've had a good off season, the bike's good, they're ready. And then the races start happening, and usually you have 1 or 2 races where they don't go your way. You're like, okay, I'm gonna get it together this weekend, and you still believe, right? But by 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds in, everyone kind of learns their pecking order, and we see that happening even this year with all the talent, right? The mud kept it interesting for longer, but it didn't take too long before Jason Anderson peeled off, and then even Eli kind of fell off, and Roxon, had troubles. He's way out of the points. This is one by one, they kind of flaked off into where you're down to Jet, Cooper, and Sexton he's hanging by a thread. He's about to fall off the cliff in terms of the points chase. I mean, obviously, mathematically, he's still in it, but he's way off. So I guess my point is it's just interesting how that always works out, right? You always have like a pecking order that just finds its way.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right on that, Ping. And I kind of want to go back to, Webb being 16 points down. I feel for this, moving forward, I don't think you've seen the full normal Coop. And I feel like you're going to start seeing that coming this weekend, because Coop knows he can't afford to lose any more points. And as you guys know, both you guys know, I mean, that kid mentally, if anyone's going to crack a Jet, it's going to be Cooper Webb. And as far as Sexton goes, I don't feel like we've seen Sexton at his best yet this whole season. I think there's a lot more in him. I don't know if that has something to do with his hand injury during the season, if it's they're still doing some bike setup and trying to still figure out that motorcycle, which they are making good improvements. I mean, I know he looks good on the bike, but I still don't feel like we've seen the full Chase Sexton this year. And I think there's still more to come from him. But as far as like the championship goes, I think it's going to be between Jet Lawrence and Cooper Webb. And I have a feeling that Webb's going to start really cracking the whip and getting into those Cooper Webb games, and he's going to be able to get into that number one spot.
Tom, what's your
Yeah.
opinion?
Yeah, I mean, Chase, obviously he's back a bit now. I think that injury has hurt him quite a bit. Talked about it before. Like anybody that races kind of knows, like if you have just something little, especially, I mean, you were full-time Supercross for a lot of years. The schedule is so gnarly. If you have a little piece of time off where you can't ride and test, and then and you're just racing every weekend, holding on for dear life, basically. I mean, how are you going to compete against a guy like Jet or Coop or them when they're, at 100%? It's almost impossible. So we are seeing improvements from him, though. So I'd really like to say that Chase is going to start stepping it up each week till the end of the season, and maybe even pull out a win, maybe this weekend. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, we kind of need him to do it because Eli, Barsha, Anderson, all the other guys are kind of getting towards the end, and somebody's going to have to step up, or Jet's going to just be, the dominator for the next few years.
Yeah, we were looking at points earlier, and outside of Chase, you really only have Justin Cooper, who's got probably still 4, 5, 6 more years left.
Mm-hmm.
All the other ones, it's year to year at this point. They might go 1, maybe 2 more, but like they're at the very end of their careers. And we're looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 more years of Jet. So who's coming?
Yeah.
It kind of gets scary as a fan looking down the entry list going, man, who's in the 250 class? So like Levi Kitchen and maybe RJ and maybe Hayden Deegan. Like those are the next guys to come up and get in the mix and try to knock him off. I mean, that's we're staring down the barrel of a lot of Jet Lawrence wins. Is my point.
Yeah.
I to go back to Chase Sexton. I had heard, and again, take this with a grain of salt. It came third party, but he has had that hand injury that may or may not have been worse than he let on, but he definitely didn't do much riding. He admitted as much for at least 2 or 3 weeks during the week. And then also he's been spending so much time trying to get this bike dialed in and get that feeling that he wants, right? And that's everything at this level, is comfort and just, feeling like, okay, the bike's it's what I want. That in turn breeds confidence, which breeds results. And so he's been working so hard on finding that it's taken him out of his routine, and I'll go to a guy like, well, let's use Ken Roxon, because that bike hasn't changed. From 23 to 24, he didn't probably test or change much of anything, right? He just went to work doing what he needed to do, working on his laps, technical stuff, starts, fitness, nutrition, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Chase's focus has had to be largely on getting the bike right. And that's 2 laps at a time, come in, make a change, 2 or 3 laps, come in, make a change over and over. And so it's really thrown him out of being able to focus on himself. And that's tough. I'm telling you, that's a big deal for these guys. So as he gets closer, and we see it, like that we had a video that on our Instagram of him rolling up right after the race, talking with Ian and Roger. And, well, not talking, he was kind of just steaming. And you could see the frustration, like he was so close, but I think he feels like he gave that one away, which, however you want to look at it, but the win was right there and he didn't get it. And those guys want to win so bad. You can just see it. It's palpable amongst the 3 of them. So I think you're spot on, Tom. I don't think we've seen the best of Chase yet. And I hope we do before the Supercross season ends, because I would love to see him get up there and be mixing up with Jet for wins. And I don't know who else is going to do it outside of Coop right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough to say. And yeah, like you said to that point too with Chase, I think another thing too is he's a real like regimented guy, like he has a very specific, he's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. Just the little bit I know him and talk to him. I mean, that guy wants to win more than anything. And he doesn't want to just win. He wants to beat the best. He doesn't want to be handed anything, nothing. And yeah, I think his schedule, he's so set with his training, like gym, training, riding, like he's kind of one of those guys that needs that set schedule all the time. And so anything that's going to throw him out of that, like the hand injury, I feel like probably affected him more than some other guys. There's a handful of guys that literally can not ride for 2 weeks and they come out and they can just crush it. But I feel like he really needs his schedule in normal order.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, and I gotta agree with you too on that, Tom, on how hard that kid works. I've been around him, through a lot of his amateur career, being in just it was insane for if he didn't win a moto or if something went wrong. This is even in amateurs.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid, I mean, stay far away from him. He was so pissed and just the frustration coming out of that kid because he couldn't win. Um, I've never seen anything like that before. So it was just, it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, that's how a champion looks
Hmm.
after a race like that, right?
Yep.
You're not happy with a second. And I think the thing that I have seen out of Chase though this year, and maybe this year will be a good learning year for him, is he's frustrated right then, right? You're full of testosterone and emotion and whatever, but by the time he's to the podium or back in the pits, he's processed it and he went, okay, you know what? There was good things to take away from tonight. We know what we need to work on. He's keeping it positive and building, right? Instead of
Yeah.
going, oh yeah, I had that. Oh, I'm an idiot. He's
Yeah.
Yeah.
taking the positive parts and building. And I think he's doing it the right way. So I'm excited to see where it's headed. Um, let's go ahead and just get into who we think's doing what this weekend. Triple Crown, it definitely opens up the door for first turn crashes or bad starts for guys. And man, it's tough, dude. Think about having to get 3 good starts just back to back to back like that.
Yeah.
I mean, these Triple Crowns. I'm glad they didn't have when I raced because I don't know, man. I don't think I'd have liked them.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
were a good starter, Ping.
I wasn't. Maybe I'd have loved
Yeah,
them.
you,
You're
you
right.
would have been
Yeah.
dialed.
Yeah.
Well, there's just so much. The start is the most chaotic part of the race. Always was, for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think there are guys who are better starters. Unfortunately for these guys, Jet's a great starter. Cooper, not so much. I think the Triple Crown's probably the worst for him, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like Chase is pretty good at starts. Kenny's a good starter and
Yeah.
sprinter.
Yep.
So if you had to look at those 4 guys, even let's say, I would say Cooper Webb is probably the worst overall. If you looked at first lap position, he probably has the worst
Yeah.
position.
Yeah, he's definitely what I will say, Jet, what I do notice about him, man, he's so good. If you watch him go into the corner, he's almost never pulling the whole shot, but he hugs that inside
Hmm.
like nobody's business. And you'll just, he's one who used to do that. Was it like Villapoto? Somebody else used to be so good at that. They wouldn't ever get a good start and they would just
And they
hug the
just sneak
inside
in. Yeah.
and they'd be in like second place. And you're like, how in the world did they do that? I noticed a bunch of times he did that, and you're like, I mean, how are you going to compete with that?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard. He doesn't have a lot of holes in his program. But if you have to pick winners or a podium here this weekend, what are you guys thinking?
Ooh.
Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna actually do like last weekend's podium. I'm gonna do Webb first, Sexton second, and Lawrence third. I just, man, I have a feeling that Coop's gonna bring the heat on this weekend because he knows he can't afford any more points being lost, and I could just see him playing those mental games starting this weekend hard. And with Chase, I mean, gosh, he's been riding good.
Hey, sorry.
Huh.
I just thought of I cannot believe he said on the TV interview that his arms were
Oh my gosh.
harder than
Oh,
morning wood.
That was
Yeah.
that was hilarious.
Hey,
I
but
could
I mean, I want to get just really quick
Uh,
on this. I mean, Tom, I feel like Coops really hasn't been playing the head games like he usually used to, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
it doesn't yeah, I'm honestly kinda surprised a couple times he got with Jet that he didn't, like, get in there a little
Yeah.
bit and kinda mess with him like you would have seen him in the past with, like, Eli and some of them, but, um, yeah, maybe now, I mean, he needs to get it done because if he lets Jet get any more wins, it's gonna be tough.
So what's your top three
Dude, I
this
kinda
weekend?
wanna go Chase, I don't know, I feel like Chase is building momentum and, maybe in the Triple Crown, he can get it done. Maybe Chase, Jet, Coop maybe for the podium, but then I mean it's hard to say like Kenny. I feel like Kenny could pop in there and maybe Eli because that was the one he won, right? It was one of the Triple Crown mains.
Yeah.
And maybe if we get a track that isn't as rutted and is a little more friendly, maybe Tomac, maybe we'll see beast mode come out a little bit.
oh God, I'd love that. I really want to see Eli at least get a win here before the season's out.
Hey,
I don't really, yeah, this is like kind of tough to pick because I think if you're just looking at numbers, you got to say Jet for the win. But I really would like to see someone else win and get the points tightened up. I'd really love to see. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now. Eli Tomac's going to win.
I like that.
God, I love it. I
All
love
right.
it.
AP is going to get second, and Mookie's going to get third, and they're going to blow the top off that dome. It's going to be so exciting. Everybody's going to be so happy.
All right, Ping, that's $100 bet right there.
Hey, that's not
No,
a bad weekend.
Hey,
no.
hey, I want to touch on something really quick because I know Ping, we kind of had this conversation earlier. Tom, you had the same injury that Tomac had, correct?
Yeah, yeah, same one. Same. I got the same fix too.
Mm.
So I mean, how is that? Like, do you feel for Tomac? Is it something where it's, he could be, is he 100% right now? I mean, I know it's always kind of hard to compare injuries because everyone heals a little differently, but I kind of want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy one because like it healed all right. It feels good and everything. I'm 5 months out now, and I'm riding and everything, but it's still not like 100. It's like healed 100%, but like it doesn't feel 100%. And I think something that it could potentially like maybe he is 100% and it feels good and stuff, but because it's such a gnarly injury, like that tendon, it does everything. Like when you tear it, your calf, everything is basically like paralyzed. You can't use like you can move your ankle, but you can't put weight on it. It just collapses. Like in your calf, literally, you can't even flex it. So
Hmm.
you go from literally like nothing for months to start riding again, and it's hard to get the strength and confidence back in it. And I could see that being an issue, especially in how rutted all the tracks have been this year. Like I even know just from riding, recently, like anytime it's rutted or a little G'd out or gnarly, I'm still questioning, like
Hmm.
if it's, you don't you just know how easy it is to blow it
Yeah.
out. So you're just, you're it takes a bit. I honestly could see it could be something that takes a full season to be confident in it again, where you will go, like he said in Daytona, he wasn't jumping that quad. Like maybe that's just, some hesitancy in the back of his mind still from the injury.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
what is he, about 10 months out now? He did it in April, right? End of April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not even a full year. And like, I mean, you guys know from injuries, like a lot of times it normally takes like that full year or a little more to where you feel 100% again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we can only speculate. He certainly isn't going to tell anybody. He's too stoic and keeps things too, close to his vest. But I hope that he gets it figured out. And you're right, man. Maybe with this, if this track isn't crazy rutted, it's a little more raceable. Maybe he does pull the cord and just go beast mode. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
So
you never know with how this series has been just so interesting. Like, you've got a Ken Roxon winning one weekend, then in eighth place, you got, an Anderson that's, podium finishing back to the sixth. It's all over the place. You never know.
well, when Eli wins this weekend, I want you guys to really you know, bow down.
Hey, I'd love to see it. I would love to see him get a win before the season's over.
Me
Yeah.
too, man. Me too. All right. Well, it's going to be great racing. Tom, I appreciate you taking the time, brother. Really cool to have you on and hear your perspective on stuff. I want to thank our sponsors real quickly again, Rock and Turf, Maxxis Tires, and Speed Strap. If you guys need turf, you need tires, or you need tie downs, we got you covered. Hit up our guys. They're awesome. Bruce, thanks for everything, buddy. And everybody out there, have a great weekend. We'll see you guys back Monday morning for a riders meeting, where we break down everything that happens over the weekend and just really talk about how I was right that Eli won.
Yeah. hey, I won't have a
Thanks.
problem with that.
or
Yeah.
not. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. All right. Thanks again, Tom. We'll be in touch,
thanks.
brother. And you
Yeah.
guys have a great weekend.
Awesome.
you.
Good talking to you guys.
All right. Cheers.
All right. See ya.